Welcome, y'all. So glad y'all could be here again for another Shaking Up the Algorithms. It's your girl, Miss J, all day. And we are here for part 2 of the Sista Circle. So let me just tell you all up front, I've got a dynamic panel of women once again for this week's show. Some faces are familiar from last week and others are new. So again, I'm going to do a quick introduction of each of these ladies here today. And some are coming in late, but we're going to bring them in, because we definitely want to add them into the conversation this week. Now, just to let you all know, tonight's conversation is entitled, "It is not what you say, but how you say it, how women communicate in relationships." And this was something that we touched on last week, but I definitely wanted to have an entire show to focus on that at hand. And sometimes as women, we do have a tendency, ladies, to be a little harsh with our words. Our words can be like daggers to some of the men and women that we have conversations with. So I definitely wanted to dive in deep this week on how we can better communicate with other people, how we can better emphasize whatever it is we want to say, but in a loving way. So with that being said, let's bring up some of the ladies for this week's show. First and foremost, I'm going to bring up one of the young ladies from last week. She is phenomenal in her field. She is the love coach. So if you need help or assistance in your relationship, this is definitely one of the women that you need to see. So let's bring up my girl, Tosh Johnson. Come on up to the stage.
Hi. How you doing tonight?
I am doing good. So glad to see you again this week. Next up, we are going to bring another of last week's guest as well. She is phenomenal here in the Houston area, and she is really doing big things in the world of media and production. So let's bring up Rosalind Omega. Hello. I am loving that. That's okay.
Thank you for having me again.
I am loving the red lipstick. That's doing it for you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Next up, we are going to bring up this lovely woman of God here. She is an extension of my own heart and friend, her and her husband as well. So let's bring up the lovely prophetess Erica Harris. Hello, love.
Hi, everyone.
Next up, this is a new face for the women's segment, but she is dynamic. Do you hear what I say? Young, up and coming. Look, she's just great. I can't even put words to what this woman does and how she helps so many people. So let's bring up attorney at law, Miss Cashmere Terry. Come on up, beautiful.
Hey, everyone.
I'm loving it. You, now, last but not least, now some of you have seen this young lady on my show before. She is like a sister to me. We have known each other for, I would say, eons. And I am so proud of her in everything that she has done and everything she has accomplished. Lord knows we have come a long way. So with that being said, I'd love to bring up my sister friend, Dr. Shamika Scott. Are you muted? I can't hear you. Uh-oh. Okay. You might want to come out and come back in because I don't think your audio's working. Okay. All right. So, ladies, like I said, tonight's show is about how we speak to people. And like I said, I know me personally, I have had a tendency to be a little harsh out of my mouth, especially when it comes to me being frustrated with something that a man has said to me or something that he's done. I don't always come from a loving place. And I've noticed even in recent years for myself, I've had to really pay attention to that and kind of fall back a little bit. And just kind of wait until the situation is diffused and mellowed out, and then come back and be like, hey, well, why did you say this, or you know what I mean, because of the fact that I know for a fact my tongue is lethal. It will hurt somebody. um, so I want to kind of touch with each of you as well. Is that something that you have found even within relationships, whether it's with a male or a coworker or a girlfriend, where you have come off abrupt when you know you probably should have come off a bit more with a softer approach? So, Cashmere, I'm gonna let you answer that because I know you're a firecracker underneath all of that professionalism. So I know that may be something that you've experienced on multiple occasions.
Wholeheartedly. That's on a daily. That is on a daily. There's certain times just in a professional level where I have to be very direct, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm already a direct person. Let's just I tell my clients I'm a straight shooter,
Mm-hmm.
but I say everything in love. But
Mm-hmm.
there's certain things that I'll have to say, and I have to be mindful of my tone, because then it can come off real like I'm really kind of nudging and elbowing. So I have to remember the tone, or the pauses
Mm-hmm.
that I use will affect the interpretation of it.
Mm-hmm.
And really in relationships, when I speak about like romantic relationships, um, they always want to think, well, you're being an attorney right now. Like, no, I'm with the shenanigans. We can go there, but no, I'm really just I'm trying to tell you how I'm feeling, but it comes off maybe barking. So a lot of times I'm learning. It's still a work in progress.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Strong work in progress. I
Mm-hmm.
do I do better when um I have to say, hold on, I don't really know how I feel about this. Let me let
Yeah.
me let me kind of circle back with you maybe about an hour or two, because if but it's really for us. It's not for me. It's so
Mm-hmm.
I can calm if it's a passionate conversation. So another thing that I've learned just in relationships and communication is when I really want to be direct, I have to make my tone a little higher. Like, hi, do you mind? If thank you, I appreciate it. Like, I have to do this to kind of take the edge off the directness about what's
Mm-hmm.
about to happen.
Mm-hmm. That makes sense, and I'm glad you said that because that too could be an issue when you are generally a direct or assertive person. It's like
Mhm.
that's in your nature to be that way. You know what I mean? Or even in your profession, in your line of work, that is something that makes you a trendsetter in what it is that you do because you have to be direct. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
You have to show that initiative when you are in conversations with people, whether you are handling business or otherwise. It allows people to take you seriously in so many words.
Wholeheartedly. If you speak too softly, like I was interviewing someone and I was a little concerned about hiring her,
Mm-hmm.
because I was like, oh, you a little too nice. You ain't got no judge to you, so I can know you can direct. I need you to be able to direct the client, direct, court, and but still be respectful. She was very meek is great, right?
Mm-hmm.
The Bible says we need to be meek, but there's a time and a place. And
Right.
when we're in the field of law, that's not always the time. So it's definitely a work in progress, and always trying to be mindful in grace. I think that make asking people like, give me some grace. I just got off of work, so I'm in fixing mode. I'm in solutions. I'm used to having to have the answers. So, but then I have to give grace in realizing I'm no longer at work. Let me
Right.
change my tone. Let me come off of where I was and
Mm-hmm.
reset.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. Meek, how's your audio this time? Let's test it
Can,
out.
can you hear me?
There you go. There you go.
All right. Hello, ladies. Hey, girl. I'm loving that hair.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. You know, I gotta keep up with you. I gotta keep up with you.
I don't got no hair,
That's
but
all right
it's all
though. That's all
it's
right
all
though.
good.
I gotta keep up with the fly. Anyway. So Tosh, I'm gonna go ahead and get you to respond to that as well. What are your thoughts on
Ooh, I have truly grown from because I've had some things at work, some co-workers
that?
just, but when we come off, we aggressive or we the angry black women when we
Mm-hmm.
say something. But hey, it was what it was, and I had to resign from a job because I got like I was about to lose it
Mm.
and like literally, but I will leave a job before I, spaz out. So for my peace and my sanity, I had to walk away. But some people like push you to that limit, and we don't know when we get to that limit. I know when I get to that limit, ain't no coming back because I done gave you like is it Cashmere said, "What I done grace, I done gave you that, I done gave," and I'm trying to hold my tongue and I'm trying to be professional, and you just it's coming at me, and most of the time, strong women we bump heads, we
Yeah.
all do, and when you get that, and then they just pushing, and you feel like you can't push back and then you just lose it. So it's your body language, it's the tone of your voice,
Mm-hmm.
and it's the content that you're saying. Because a lot of things people could take out of context and assume it's what you're saying, but that's not the way you're saying it.
Mm-hmm. And that's true. That's another reason why I'm real particular about having conversations with people via text because people can take a text all different kinds of ways. So
Mm-hmm.
I need to talk to you. I need you to hear my voice. I need you to hear my inflections, whether it be good or bad. You know what I'm saying? Because again, you can perceive things to be one way and that may not be the case at all. So that's another good point too. But Mika, I'm gonna get you to speak on this too because she made mention of something that I think folds into what you do as well. When she mentioned body language. And that is critical when you are either in confrontation or just in conversation with someone. Your body language speaks for you before the words even come out of your mouth. So, how, just to kind of expound a little bit as well on the topic and that portion at hand, how do you combat that even in your line of work and in your profession?
I don't think I'm a good person to ask that question to. I'm going to tell you because my body language continues to get me in trouble over and over again. And being in the military, you know, you have to be somewhat stoic,
Mm-hmm.
but it's difficult because generally we are expressive people.
Mm-hmm.
And so I, the best recommendation that I give myself is to be mindful because whatever is going on in your mind is going to reflect in your nonverbal behavior. And
Mm.
so sometimes, if it's a group situation and I'm disagreeing with what they're saying, in my mind, I'm like, you know what, this ain't nothing but some BS. Y'all just stupid. I have to shift my mind because I know it's showing all over here, you
Mm-hmm.
know, and then be more cautious of your body language because as you become angry, your body tenses up.
Yeah.
And so beginning to I tell patients, your body talks to you. When you get angry, for some people, your heart may start fluttering, your hands may get a little sweaty. And
Mm-hmm.
so just beginning to be in tune with those physical sensations so that way you can modify your nonverbal behavior when need be.
No, that makes sense. That definitely makes sense. And I put you on the spot somewhat with that because see, I know her personally, And regardless of the titles and all of the accolades that she's earned, she's still Mika at the end of the day. So so that girl from Baltimore is still in there. Don't poke the bear. That don't poke the bear. But thank you so much for that. Erica, I'm gonna get you to touch on that as well, because even with what you do, even in ministry, I know for a fact that you run across people a lot of times that you just want to say, you know what, forget the title. This Erica today, this Erica from New York today, you gonna get it. You know what I'm saying? So what keeps you sometimes, or what holds you back even from allowing that side of you to come out? What keeps you able to speak in a loving tone?
Well, I like what Dr. Shamika said. You know, it's imperative how we, I would say, set a tone or atmosphere, especially when you're in an authoritative position.
Mm-hmm.
For me, because I am ministry centered, all around, um, I try to keep my composure because ministry is about dealing with people.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to be a people person. You're going to run into all kinds of attitudes. You're going to run into all kinds of issues. So to me, I think it's important as a leader to diffuse it before it even begins. And I think it starts with you setting that tone, setting that atmosphere, your body language, your disposition speaks a lot to the people that you are addressing. So
Mm-hmm.
sometimes if you seem like you're easily moved emotionally, it sets a tone and it starts
Mm-hmm.
ricocheting. And then because you need one negative person or one negative thing to happen, and it starts a domino effect and everybody just feeds in it. So to me, to diffuse that, because a lot of my secular and spiritual is the fact that I'm a woman of God, and I'm quite sure we all are women of God, but on a spiritual sense, I look at everything, from that point of view.
Mm-hmm.
I go according to the word of the Lord. And one of the things that the word of God always keeps me balanced. And of course, sometimes we're gonna slip up.
Yeah.
Sometimes, we're not perfect, even with the word of the Lord, but I try to adhere to the word of the Lord, to the best way to deal with all kinds of people, because I'm dealing with all kinds of problems. I'm dealing with all kinds of issues, all kinds of attitudes, and a lot of it, I believe, also is just being mature,
Yeah.
learning from each situation that you occur, so when it happens again, you know how to deal with it.
Yeah.
You know how to put out those small fires. You know what you can, like the woman, like our sister Cashmere said, some people have a grace period.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you have a time limit. You already have a deadline. Okay, this is gonna be the last time, but even in that, everything must stem from the point of view of love. One of the things that I do like, about the Bible, it just says that, he that is slow to wrath is of great understanding. That means that, when you're dealing with a lot of people, to diffuse that, you have to have an understanding heart. You have to know that at some point you were where they were at. You wasn't always where you were at either. So, I try to be slow. Sean has this thing that he even, checks me about, and I had to learn because we got married very early. We were still learning each other and still learning each other. And he said it's always important to listen, not to respond, but to listen to understand. So I think a lot of it has to be also, with that grace period, it's just being understanding.
That's good. That's good right there. And that's something too that I am steadily learning. To be able to listen and not, respond, or just to wait to respond. Because I know me, sometimes, when you're in a heated conversation, it's almost like you got to hurry up and say it before you forget that point. Like you got to say it at that moment. But even when I've noticed where I had taken the time to not say anything, it's almost like that point never even mattered. You know what I mean? Or that comment that I was going to make wasn't even relevant anymore. You know what I mean? So it pretty much dies off. as the conversation goes on. So that's good as well. Rosie, I'm gonna get you to come in and kill it from the end. You know, what are your thoughts since you've heard everyone else speak? What are your thoughts on it, and how does that relate even in your line of work or in your relationships that you've had? How have you found that to be an issue or, not an issue for you?
I can say I agree with what many of the ladies spoke about this evening. If I can piggyback and add anything to what the lady said, something that's helped me within my personal development, working for Apple since the very first iPhone, being in that culture of lots of training, I will say that I'm lucky because something that they instilled within us, especially starting a crazy company where you never knew the iPhone could have all this stuff today and it was just an idea. And there was a lot of frustration when it came down to just store expansion, store openings, and different people and teams from all over the world and different personalities. And everyone has an ego and everyone is brilliant and everyone is smart. However, something that's very important, just to piggyback, if we think about actionable steps, that would be to just pause and assuming positive intent and being able to asking for permission, because not everybody is ready to receive that information or receive the feedback. And so you have to be able to allow the gateway to allow that conversation. So that way, once you ask them, what was your thought process? Why did you make this? I don't want to say, why did you make this particular decision, but what was your thought process for doing what you did? Because maybe we had a pathway of where we wanted to go and they thought that their way was the best way. And so if we stop and listen, you know what? And maybe it wasn't bad intentions. They just maybe didn't execute it the right way. That will solve a lot of problems right there. A lot of problems right there. And so that way, once they give you their answer of why they did what they did, it's like, okay, now, okay, maybe it wasn't that bad, but this is how I would go about it. And I believe that's very effective because within my line of work of what I do, I deal with many business owners from startups to billionaires, everybody in between, all over the world, doesn't matter. And everyone is the exact same. Stick with the basics.
That
Stick,
makes sense.
stick with the basics. Ask for permission every time, every time.
That makes sense. That makes sense. I wanted to do something a little different for this show that I didn't do in the men's segment, but because this is considered the sister circle, I really want to again focus on not just how we relate to the men in our lives, but also to how we relate to one another. Because I feel like even as quote unquote black women, we don't always treat each other the best. And I wanted to bring up this clip and we all discuss this as well. So let's go ahead and play it.
Or when they're doing dumb shit behind your back, they're the ones that get more paranoid when they don't hear from you. Yeah. Do you understand what I'm saying? It's like, baby girl, we cool. Why would you think something was wrong? If I don't talk to Jiraji, I don't think something's wrong. Okay? I know she busy and I know she love me and I know when I see her, we're going to pick up like we just did last week. But when you got that girl that's like, are we good? Like, why ain't you? Like, are we good? Hooker, what you doing? Okay? You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Mary don't get mad when I ain't talking to her. She know we good. If she busy and I call her and she don't call me right back, I know we good. There is never a question. So y'all women that be doing that dumb shit behind each other's back, y'all better stop, okay? And this is from the book of Tasha. I'll get back to pray later from the book Bible, but right now, I'ma say, if you want a good friend, here's the scripture. Show yourself friendly. And what is showing yourself friendly? Loyalty, commitment, not gossiping about a Negro behind their back, not backbiting. Like, really be there for your sisters. Really support them. And
Okay. So from the book of Tasha, when I saw that, I was like, yo, I can totally relate. And I can even say from experience, like, prime example, I'll put it out there because, I like to be transparent on my stage, right? Shamika and we met each other when we were like 18 in college, 18, right? So I'm not going to even mention how old we are, but we've known each other for eons, right? And sometimes there's been times where it's been years since we talked to each other in between. With her, transitioning from different places, being stationed in different places, sometimes we don't always chat, right? But when we do, it's as if we just picked up from where we left off. Like it's never been an issue. It's always been like, girl, well, what's going on? We just catch up. And I feel like that is so important when you have that type of friend or that type of friendship in your life, where no matter what time may elapse in between, you all still have that you still have that camaraderie with one another, where you can still conversate, you still have that sisterhood. And it's unfortunate that we don't use that model throughout our relationships with other women. We've become very selective. And I mean, that kind of ties into something that Kashmir stated as well about kind of being meek and mild in certain relationships and direct or assertive in others. It's almost like that balance still with how we interact with other sisters or other women. We become really hesitant, or we can sometimes prejudge. You know what I mean? It's not something we initially set out to do, but it is something that we innately do. You know what I mean? So I guess what I want to hear or get some feedback from each one of you is, when making new friendships or creating new relationships, do you find it easier to and I know I already know the answer for myself. I'm sure most of you are going to say the same thing. But is it easier for you to make, those connections better with men than it is with women? And either one of you can start.
You know what? I'm sitting here cracking up because just yesterday, this guy told me, he's a friend of my husband's. He said, he was trying not to say stuck up. So I said it for him. He said, well, stuck up is not the word I want to use. He said, you're more standoffish. I said, what the hell do you mean I'm standoffish? Right? And so as we were talking, I had to really, it's not that I haven't heard it before, because Shawan, you know this.
I know.
But as he was describing what he think I am, I said, a lot of it is right. And it ties into what you were saying. It's not so much of being standoffish. And I think the prophetess will be able to appreciate this too. It's more so I have to discern your spirit.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I have to be on guard. And as you and I have been friends for over 20, almost 30 some years, we met in 94, right? Mm-hmm. And as you was talking about how we can pick up, even when, I've lived in different countries and so forth and so on, it's because when we met each other, you saw me at my core. Yeah. You knew me before the degrees. You knew me before the husband. You knew me before all of that. And so you learned the core of who I am. The core of who you are don't change. Correct. And that's why we stayed connected throughout the years, and we will always be connected. And I think that oftentimes with women, we could be a little shady. We can be a little standoffish because it's like lions, lions that I got to stalk my prey. I got to see what you're about first, because I don't know what you're going to do with the information I may give you. And some of the information may be nonverbal, right? So I don't know what you're going to do with that information. Thus, I have to discern your spirit before I let my guard down. Because once my guard is down, it's difficult to put it back up, because now you know things about me. And and we can be very vindictive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. Um, and you're right. I find myself doing that a lot too. You do have to kind of read the person before you really divulge anything about you, because unfortunately there are a lot of people out here, men and females alike, that will take what you say or take what you may disclose to them and use it, against you in any way, shape, or form. So it's almost like you want to create new relationships, you want to, meet new people, you want to network, you want to do these things, but it's almost like you have to, have people at bay somewhat, until you feel them out. You have to give them, a couple of go rounds. Like, I'm gonna meet you today. Hey, how you doing? Nice to meet you. But you don't say anything. You know what I mean? It takes a period of constant conversation, before you can really, open yourself up, or even to embrace, extend that olive branch, so to speak, to that person.
I
Um,
just want to say one more thing.
Go ahead.
As we get older, right? I don't want no new friends. I don't want no more new friends
True.
because it takes work to
Amen.
be a friend. It takes work to be a friend. I have to talk to you sometime when I'm not you, Shawan, but talk to my friends, the five that I got, when I don't feel like it. But because you're my friend, I'm gonna do it. I don't want no new friends. I'm 40. How old am I? 48. I'm 48 years old. I got all the friends I need. I'm serious. But
Right.
as you're younger, you want to have friends. I got my five and I'm fly, and I don't need no more. Praise God.
Oh my God.
I love it.
Comedian all day. Comedian all day. Go ahead, Erica.
I love Dr. Shamika's response because I was gonna go there. I think when it comes to women, I think because we come with different kind of backgrounds, so much baggage, and we have a lot in our past to unpack. The one thing I find, and this is through experience, is that it has to be a learning before leaping.
Yeah.
And sometimes we could meet people for the first time because I do ministry. So sometimes people invite you to their church to preach, and automatically it's like that's my sister, that's my girl, that's my best
Mhm.
friend, and we really don't know each other. And when things begin to transpire, because we don't really know each other, and it's only to a certain limit, that when misunderstanding comes in, it goes left. It goes a whole nother way. But you were quick to say that I was your friend. So what I've learned over the years is that, um, you know, I'm like Shamika. I keep my circle, and the Lord taught me this a while ago. I keep my circle small enough so I can see the snake when it comes in my garden. And I think that's very important, that you don't need a lot of people to fit in or to feel significant or that you matter. So yeah, everybody has to have a core friends. And how I know my core friends is that I learn how to compartmentalize people by what I've learned over the years, because you just don't know somebody right off the bat. Because sometimes it's not a friendship, it's a high maintenance relationship. You got to explain everything. Like you said with the text, you got to explain everything you say, why you can't be there, what's going on, and that's just too much work. That's just too much energy. And in the days that we're in, we don't have time for that. Either you're going to be with me or for me. But I will say this. One thing we have to understand about friendships, that there's always going to be transition. Like she said, so some people get married, people start having kids, they start changing jobs, they move to another state. So we're not going to always communicate like we did before. But I got to know that if I haven't talked to you in 6 months, I can pick up the phone and lay it all on the line. That I can know that you're not going to be you're not going to be immature to say, well, I haven't heard from you in 6 months. And that's not how people go through things, but you got to trust. And that's one of the issues with women. We have trust issues. And I just want to just give this scripture that I thought is so applicable for what you ask. Proverbs 17:17. It says, a friend loveth at all times. Good times, bad times, happy times, sad times, whether you're up, whether you're down, whether you're fat, whether you're skinny, whatever. Whether you losing your mind, finding your mind, a friend loveth at all time, and a brother is born for adversity. So when you have a true friend, that means that friend will fight tooth and nail for you. They would go, and then sometimes the best relationships are forged under those kind of situations where you have to fight for your friend.
Yeah.
And that you get to see where people are when things are going bad in your life. Sometimes God allowed things to happen in our life. It's not to show us who's always for us, but sometimes it's to show us who's against us.
Yeah.
A brother and a sister is going to stick with you to the very end. They're going to be like Chucky, but they just ain't going to kill you, but they're going to be a friend to the end. So I think it's very, very important that when it comes to friendships, you have to treat it like you would do a date or a date, and you have to gather data. You have to find out about that person before you jump right into it and say, that's my friend for a moment. Friends are not for moments, friends are for lifetimes.
I'm glad. Look, I'm just gonna piggyback a little bit before I come to you, Cashmere, because I'm gonna get you to speak on this. But I think this is one of my pet peeves a little bit that I've noticed even more so at my age now. When you meet women, they're quick to call you a sister. And I'm not saying that innately we're not sisters, but hey, sis, I'm not your sis. I don't know you. You know what I'm saying? Like, let me get to know you first before you even attach that title to me, because you might not like me tomorrow. You know, and I think that's something. It's become like an overrated greeting, but I think people don't really realize the magnitude of a lot of the things that we say when we talk to people. Because everybody's not your sister, everybody's not your friend. You know, I don't care if they do come with a smile, they also come with a knife in the other hand. You know what I'm saying? So it's like you got to be careful, and you do have to be mindful when you are conversing or meeting new people and things of that nature. But Cashmere, let me go ahead and get your input as well, love, because I can see your mind, your wheels are spinning over there on some things.
I approach things a little differently. I will say, strictly because I've been in positions where I'm friendly with a majority of everybody, right? Like I'm operating in love, right? Have a good time. We can kiki and kaka. Cool. But to say that you're gonna be a friend, no. I really want to say I have, like, if I were to be try to break it, it's like circles. So
Mm-hmm.
most people are on the outer circle, but you wouldn't know it. You would think we cool. Not really. Um then then you have the associates. You might know a little bit about me, but I promise you the things that you know is because I allowed it out.
Mm.
And then the next inner circle are those who've actually they're kind of compartmentalized. So I have a group of friends who we're gonna go to brunch, we're gonna have a good time, then we get up when we get up. Then we're gonna have a group of friends that is strictly business and we lean on each other in regards to business. Then I have another group of friends that's compartmentalized, that's my sorority sisters, right?
Mm.
And that's different. And then that inner circle for me would be those who I'm vulnerable with, those who really know the wounds, and they help me patch up the wounds. The people that I'm ugly crying, right? Or though, and and also there's a few of them that are, let's ride. What we gonna do? Um, and it is, but I've realized just the circles, but and I've also, because there was a comment about the sis, I will say I use that as actually a term of endearment. So I don't really see you as my sister because we know each other, we ain't been through nothing yet. I don't break bread
Right.
with anybody.
Right.
However, I will say, hey sis, because black woman to black woman,
Mhm.
strictly. Or hey darling, hey lovely, because I might not know your name.
Right.
So I'd rather call you a term of love, right? Or I might see you having a bad day. Sis, smile, girl. What's going on, girl? And it's in it. I get into that what you would want a sister to say, but I'm not looking at you as my sister because you haven't picked me up and I haven't picked you up yet.
Right.
Right? We don't have that relationship. So like I said, I have the circles and those who are in my inner circle, it's very small because if we can't pray together, cry together, and correct one another, because
Mm,
I need some friends that will really, and that's male and female,
yeah.
right? I need some friends that'll call me out. And you see me doing something wrong, you might be like, okay, I'm gonna let you make it right now. Okay. But you're gonna pull my coattail as soon as we get in that car. And you're gonna let me have it. Don't let me stand on what is wrong. So to me, that's a friend. And even when it's real direct and it hurts, not because it's intending, but because of the correction,
Mhm.
then the correction, I appreciate that. That's when I know you got me. You're able to see me in my worst ways with the tears and pick me up, encourage me, pray over me, and then be like, go ahead and be great now. Right? Or even be like, you was wrong. You could do better than that. To me, that's what's my inner circle. And if and it's crazy because I used to be someone that was like, girl, you ain't know me for 3, 4, 5 years. We ain't friends. Miss me with it. But I will say God has done some things in my life where I'm realizing, wait a minute, I am getting these friends that I really didn't want because I'm very private. But at the same time, the relationship we're being forged in fire, right? We going through some things to one another where we blocking. So from there, how can I not say that's a friend? Because you didn't have to do anything for me, right? And you're we're covering one another. So I no longer you let time be my measurement. I allow the process to be whether you become a friend and what circle you get put in.
That definitely makes sense. That definitely makes sense. So, from listening to you all so far, I can say the consensus is we have learned to compartmentalize uh, how we relate or how we bring people in to our world, so to speak, be it male or female. Rosie, I'm going to get you to kind of piggyback wherever you would like in the commentary. Go right ahead, ma'am.
I'll just piggyback off of Cash because everything she said was so valid. And I
Hmm.
will say there's nothing better than just receiving just love from a black woman. Black woman compliments are the best. And we are so mean to each other. I can definitely say, I know this is corny, but I really do believe in how you like. I feel good when I compliment other people. And if I see a girl and she's beautiful, I'm going to tell her she's beautiful. Same thing. If it's a dude, he's good looking, you're good looking, keep it moving. I'm not trying to talk to you, but I love making people feel good because you don't know what people are going through. You really don't. Um, I'm gonna just say it like that. You don't know what people are going through that day when you give them a compliment, and you may change everything for them. And so, if I see a black woman and she looks beautiful, she's wearing a nice outfit, I'll compliment all day. Um, I don't see a purpose. And if you know what, if she has the attitude of why is she talking to me, that's her problem, not me, because it makes me feel good to send love her way, whether she receives it or not. Has nothing to do. I don't care about her reaction. I know it makes me feel good because I'm sending positivity out there.
That makes sense. That makes sense. Man, ladies, this is like in depth convo here. This is in depth. But let's get to, because like I said, I wanted to talk about how we relate to women. Let's kind of focus a little more, shed a little light on how we treat men and the men that we bring into our lives to either get to know more intimately or those that we may just converse with, on a day to day, because some guys are not intimate friends. They're friends, but they're not intimate friends, right? So, how, and I'm not even going to say how, I'm just going to put some of my personal out there because you know me, I'm good with that. Personally, I definitely feel that I try to give people the benefit of the doubt. And sometimes, still piggybacking on what Cashmere said earlier, sometimes I can come off really meek, really mild, overly generous, overly nice, all of these things. And yet and still people don't know that other side of me. You know what I mean? They don't know, I could be that other derogatory word. You know what I mean? I could be that person. As she said, I'm with the shenanigans any day, anytime. But I don't like to do that. I don't really like that person to come out, right? So when I deal with gentlemen, I am nice. You know what I mean? Generally, I'm a nice person. I want you to get to know me, right? Because I'm taking the time to want to get to know you. But there are often times that uh, certain things may be said, especially if it's someone that I have, grown accustomed to, right? And there are certain times that he may say something that really rubs me the wrong way. Now, in my past, I would have never said anything. I think the older I'm getting now, my patience is short. So I just don't have time. I don't have time for that. I don't want there to be any time elapsed for you to, think that I'm thinking one way when really that's not what I'm thinking. So I've become more direct in my approach with people. Um, and to be quite honest, excuse my language, but I just don't have time for this shit. I just don't. You know what I mean? And that may come off as me being stuck up. That may come off as me being, you know, overbearing or hard to get. But it is what it is. I just don't have time for nonsense. So, so with that, how is it? And I know most of, well, not all of you, but some of you are married. So not to say that, as a single woman you didn't experience these things, and or even as a married woman you don't deal with it with your husbands, but what how do you even go about diffusing, or how do you go about even having those conversations with them not becoming the the arguments, or the disagreements that turn into arguments per se. So Tosh, I'm gonna get you to speak on that, because don't do that. Because for one, and the reason I brought you up is for one, you counsel people about this stuff. You know what I mean? Your job is to help people find the love, to get back to the love. You know what I mean? Outside of the disagreement, outside of the anger or whatever attachments there are. So how do you do that with either your clients or even in your own life?
How you gonna put me on the spot like that? I don't know how to answer that.
Do it to the best, to your best. That's all I need.
Well, okay, Shawan, say what do you want me to say it again?
I just want you to expound on how, whether it's in your own relationships or whether it's even with your clients, how do you help them, or help the women per se, right? How do you help the women in these relationships or yourself when you're dealing with a man and there may be a disagreement? Because again, we have to, it's easier said than done to agree to disagree, right? You got to be with a really cool, and I'm just saying from experience, you got to be with a really cool person that loves you enough to be willing to compromise. Everybody doesn't know what that means. Everybody doesn't know what that looks like. So how do you even deal with somebody or relate to someone that may not be willing to compromise, or may not be able to handle whatever it is that you're saying, and that that can frustrate you when you're dealing with somebody like that. So how do you deal with that, or how would you counsel your clients?
With my past relationship with my children's dad, it was never an agree to disagree. So when we did disagree on something, it's argue, it's fighting, it's back going tat for tat on um on those things. But the next relationship that I had, it was the agree to disagree. He was so like, it was like he listened to my thoughts, he listened to my side, my opinion, and then I listened to his, and we agreed to disagree, but that was it. We both got it out and we could move on. So what I'm gonna say is communication. Communication is the key to everything. Um, it's the key to our friendships, our relationships, our family ships. It's the key to everything. So if we communicate, um, that right there, and we active listen to one another, give each other that time to listen, then that's what it is. Does that answer your question?
No, it does. It does. And it really does boil everything down in a nutshell, because you have to have somebody that you can communicate with effectively to even have an effective outcome, right? It's when you're dealing with people that more or less they cannot relate, or they have not reached a certain level of maturity where they can have those type of conversations. I call those adult conversations. And to be quite honest, a lot of people, when you notice that they're not able to match or to meet that, then you know you're not necessarily dealing with an adult mentally. You're dealing with somebody that's stuck, right? So again, I'm gonna come to Mika on this too, because it's kind of psychological even with that. You know what I mean? How do you, again, when you're as a woman, and you're dealing with a man that, well, and I'm sure in your line of work you come across this a lot too, when you're dealing with men that may be very egotistical, and they're not necessarily taking what you say, not necessarily to heart, but a lot of times when you're dealing with egotistical people, or people that may be immature in other ways, they don't hear other people. They just hear themselves. Whatever they say is right, right? So how do you even deal in situations like that when you're trying to convey what it is that you need to say?
That's my everyday work environment. I'm the only black female in the position that I hold, and so I'm surrounded around a lot of senior executives, right? And so what I have found to work for me in a work situation is everything that I say to you, I'm gonna back it up with a regulation.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna back it up with a policy. So that way, when I speak, I'm training you to know that when I speak, I'm speaking with confidence because I've read, I have researched, and don't come for me because I'm gonna go to that black and white, because you can't argue against black and white,
Mm-hmm.
right? So that's in the work context. Um, Now in a relationship context, that's a whole nother story. I haven't figured that out yet because my husband think he know everything, and me and him go back and forth because he's a psychologist too, and then he be trying to therapize me, and I'm like, we ain't doing that today. So,
Shout out to my brother Charles. Shout out to my brother. Go ahead.
so, so, you know, I now that I haven't figured out yet. But if I had to surmise, I would say pretty much being able to come to him with evidence, because you have to know your audience,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so you have to know the type of people that you're speaking to. And so, you know, in a situation with him, he's a very concrete person. He's a very, where, when, how. He wants the what do you call it? The details.
Mm-hmm.
And so I know that when I'm coming to him with something serious, then I have to already have done my research and stuff like that. So that way he can't poke holes in it.
Okay.
You understand what I'm saying? So
Mm-hmm.
I really think it's a matter of knowing your audience, and once you learn the type of people that you're dealing with, then you can figure out the communication style that you need to use with that individual.
That's good. I like that. I like that. And you're right. You Erica giving you the thumbs up on that one. And I think that's so true. I mean, even whether you're in a relationship or not, you have to know who you're dealing with.
Mm-hmm.
It helps
Mm-hmm.
to be able to, again, as Tosh said, be able to communicate effectively with that person, because now you can direct and tailor that conversation
Mm-hmm.
to that person so that they are able to, take in the information a bit more
Right.
than had you not developed that type of relationship with them.
Yep.
Lucy, I'm going to get you to chime in as well. Um, Even in your line of work, is that, again, because I'm sure you run into all different types of people, be it male, female, what have you, and even maybe in your relationships, where there have been times that there have been disagreements. How do you handle those situations, or how have you found yourself handling those?
Did you say my name?
I did. I did.
I didn't hear it. I'm sorry. I think Dr. Scott, she said a lot of it, and even just nothing's ever perfect, but it goes back to communication. And with relationships, I don't tolerate a lot, and so I will replace you like yesterday. So I don't know. Everybody's a little different. I like nice people. Don't be a jerk to me. If I don't like the way you make me feel, bye.
I like that. I mean,
I'm not gonna stress myself. I
right.
mean, there's too many people. Bye.
I know that's right.
I
Erica.
don't know, this today's society nowadays, I just feel like it just men think that they're the prize, and especially I don't know. It's just when it comes down to relationships, I feel like both parties are equally important, but
Mhm.
like it goes back to just whether platonic relationships, I don't know. I feel like the principles remain the same. It's just being able to give that feedback, that person being able to receive it, because if we can't get past that basic foundational things, how in the hell am I supposed to move forward with anything else?
That's true. That's true.
And I'm not going to talk to anyone or date anybody that I don't have a foundation with, and I haven't watched how they interact with other people, and likewise.
I
Mm-hmm.
love it. I love it. That definitely makes sense. That definitely makes sense. Erica, go ahead. You've been shot. You've been, giving your little animated input over there. Go ahead.
Because I am enjoying these women. I mean, I think their responses is so, I mean, pinpoint accurate. I mean, they're just so awesome. You know, their intellect. I love their way of thinking and how they're looking at things. And I think, like, Shamika said, and like the young lady who just spoke, we can't get around it. The bottom line, every relationship has to have communication.
Mhm.
I don't care if it's with your children, your spouse, it's platonic, it's co-workers. There has to be a clear understanding
Mm-hmm.
on the ground that we're on. So, like I said, I'm always Bible based. I'm not perfect, but the Bible says a scripture like, how can two walk together unless they're
Let's stay agree.
okay? So that means we have to be on the same page because life is a journey. It's not going to be overnight. So even in relationships, some relationships are long term, some are short term, some is a life term. So one of the things that I love about my husband when it comes to communication with people, period, because I learned a lot from him that I'm like Dr. Shamika said, you got to know the person that you're dealing with, like she says with her husband. And by us being married, the one thing about Sean is that he's one of those people, he's a solutionist.
Mhm.
I don't want to hear about
Mm-hmm.
the problem. I want to know the solution. So when I come to him, I'm like her. I got to be like, okay, he don't want to hear the whine and how we got here or whatever the case may be, which is sometimes is good and then sometimes it's bad. So
Mm-hmm.
everything in a nutshell with what you said, I think the most important thing that we forget when it comes to communication is wisdom. We have to have wisdom. We have
Yeah.
to learn how to choose our battles wisely. We got to learn
Mm-hmm.
which ones is worth fighting for and which ones are not. We got to learn there's going to be periods and times in your relationships where you're going to have to really war for it. You know what I mean? You're going to have to really go for it. And then there's sometimes where you just have to bow out gracefully. But I think when it comes to communication, one of the things that's also very important is you got to remember it's an even exchange. You're sending a message and you're receiving a message. So that's why communication in any relationship is going to be foundational. We just can't get around it. And sometimes we try to, but we just can't. And the last thing I want to say is that, there's a scripture that says, in Matthew 5:37, but let your communication be yea, yea, nay, nay. For whatsoever is more than that cometh of evil. In other words, it's like you got to be specific. You got to say what you mean and mean what you say. You can't be trying to fumble around stuff. You can't be playing games and trying to get the other person to figure it out. Like the young woman said, you got to be straight to the point. Like she has no zero tolerance. But guess what? She communicates that. So when you approach her, don't come to me with no games because I ain't going to tarry for that. And one of the most important things is our actions. I think the biggest barrier with communication is people actions don't line up with their words.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
people don't follow through on their promises. They don't follow through on what they said. So I think it's like both of the young ladies said, it depends on just knowing the person that you're dealing with. And the most important thing is to know that it has to come to communication. You're receiving a message and you're giving off a message.
Right.
You have to be agreed. You have to come to being on the same page, or it's
Right.
never going to work.
That's true. That's true. I want to say this one thing because I know Erica, you kind of on your way out.
Be there at 9, and you know what? I'm going to be there at 9, so I got like 20
Okay.
more minutes.
Okay. Good. Because I really need you for this question.
Oh my
And
God.
I wasn't gonna bring this up, but because Rosalind mentioned this, I'm like, you know what? I need to bring this up. Okay. She said something in her spiel about men feeling like they're the prize, right? And I'm bringing this up because I literally had a conversation just yesterday with one of my male friends, and this came up. And I told him, I said, honestly, though, I believe women are the prize. And he said, well, how you figure that? I said, well, I'm no Bible thumper, but think about it like this. God made Adam first, right? He gave him dominion over all of this stuff. I want you to do this. This is your land. I want you to take care of the animals. I want you to name them all. I want you to do this. I want you to do that. But then he realized that Adam was lonely. So what did he do? He made sure that he put Adam to sleep and made Eve. Eve was his prize. Eve was the gift to him, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's why it even says in the Bible, when you find a wife, you find a good thing. This is your prize. This is your gift. You know what I'm saying? So why wouldn't you think women are initially the prize, right? Now, I get from a male perspective, and I'm advocating for you guys just this once, okay? I'm gonna say this because there are some women that will take that and just go beyond, right? And look at it from a perspective of, oh well, yeah, I'm the prize and you gonna do this for me and do that. And I feel like that's so immature at the same time. But ultimately, I still believe that we are the prize. When you have a woman that is about her business, you know, manages her life well, and is willing to help you to manage yours. Um, if she's a mother, she's, great with her children. She's cultivating new things. Why wouldn't she be the prize? She's an asset to you, not a liability. You know what I'm saying? So why wouldn't she be? So go ahead, Cashmere. Go ahead. Let me get you to expound on that as well. And Erica, I'm gonna come back to you.
You want me to expound on that?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. With your standpoint, do you feel like women should be considered the prize, or is that overrated?
Yes, I do. I do, but I think we both have value. And I think we're so in this thing of I'm better, you're better. Like, no, we are just the different side of a same coin. Like, black man, I need you. I
Yes.
need you. And
Yes.
I don't think we do a very good job of saying, I need you. We get so much into this INDEPENDENT. Like, miss me with it all. Miss me with it all. Okay. Somebody needs to go look and see what goes bump in the middle of the night because I'm not doing it. So like I need you. So I think we keep saying which one's better, but really I need you in the home. My son needs to know who to mimic. My daughter needs to know, who to look for in a man as she gets older. But then I need your love. Just to say it's gonna be okay, baby. Wipe your tears. Cause when my man says, hey, we good, he said it, we good. I ain't even worried about it. You see what I'm saying? So we keep getting to this who's better and who's not. Do I believe women are a gift to man? Yes, that's what the scripture showed. Adam did well. God said here, you working real hard. Cool. You deserve a prize. You deserve, but then he also told them both, go work. It ain't over.
That's right.
Right? So we keep saying we both working. I don't it for me it's a I think it's something that we get into a conversation about to be divisive, and we have so many other things trying to divide us from our men that I don't want to even entertain that we they out here fighting, to survive. The police, I'm in the courtrooms, I'm seeing, and you ain't got to worry about me when you come home. You're valued, you know. And I think earlier we were speaking about a conversation about hacks and what was it? Oh my god! Oh my god! Oh my god! Because I was holding on and I was like, "Oh, we switched." It was about conversation with men, and I think it was Dr. Shamika said she hasn't really gotten it yet of how to like that conversation between which how we communicate between male and female, and I realized like I've learned this hack, and I stumbled on it by accident, super by accident, but I've been exploring it really and realizing my femininity. When
Mm.
I rest in my femininity and not the masculine part of me, right? Because we all have masculine and feminine. But when I rest in my femininity, I we're not arguing, honey. And I always have this joke. I'm like, I'm not arguing unless you're paying me, boo. I'm not arguing no man at all. Pay me. But that's a joke I say, but when I'm really, being honest about it, it's because of my femininity. We don't need to go back and forth. I was recently dating someone, and he had said we don't argue. We're not going to argue. For what? And I've realized the more he's masculine, the more I want to just, all
Feminine.
right, feminine. I think arguing is more of a masculine trait. We have to do it for our jobs, but there's no need for me to be combative and divisive against you. How about we change our perspectives and the way that we're coming to this conversation, and we have a I don't even want to say debate. We're going to really kind of break down what are you trying to tell me that I'm missing? What is your intent? Okay, what am I trying to tell you? We don't have to see eye to eye, but at least let me understand your frame of reference. And you need to understand my frame of reference. And then we can go our separate ways. We don't need to agree, but we can come to like a happy medium, and I meet you a little bit, you meet me a little bit. That's what negotiation is. Nobody wins. So, um, but really when we're in communication, I'm realizing even when I say something to a man, um, I have to my tone will really direct the feminine energy.
Mm.
So, for example, I was dating and this man didn't want me to work out. I have a trainer. He was like, "You ain't working out. I don't want you to lose weight. I want you just like you are." And I was like, excuse my language. I said, the hell I'm not. You got me messed up. Who I'm working out. And he came right back, like not even a second. He said, the F you is. And I said, wait a minute, hold on. And I still went to go work out. He was going to be mad. But the next time around and we had that conversation, I had to try a different approach. And I had to explain to him, hey, I believe in manifesting her. I have this idea of the woman I'm growing into and who I want to be. And if we're going to have kids, if we're going to really see what happens between us, I want my body to be healthy. I want to be present and be this woman who I'm envisioning for myself. And once I broke it down saying, hey, I need to work out. I need you to be okay with it. He was like, all right, baby, did you have a good workout? Did you get them? Did you get the, and it was a completely different tone. And that's when I stumbled on it. That's why I said, oh, because I said, I'll be with the shenanigans. I got to come at you completely different as a man. Mm-hmm. I have to speak to you in a way that is not necessarily complaining, but needy, but saying, this is what I need for me. And they're going to step into that because their nature is to provide. Yeah. So that's my take on the whole situation.
Erica, I'm going to get you to piggyback as well. Go right ahead, ma'am.
That was great, Cashmere. I love that. When I look at what she's saying in regards to value, and I think we do, I think sometimes we put more value on the woman because she's more emotional and she's more needed. And we devalue men, sometimes in the process. But there's a scripture that does say in Proverbs 14, a wise woman builds her house. A foolish one plucks it down with her own hands. So usually when I minister to women, when it comes to that part, I always talk about how you have to know your role and play your position.
That's good.
You have to know your role and you have to play that position. And you would never feel like, whether he responds or gives out what you're looking for, it would never allow you to depreciate yourself. Okay, that's number one. Because one thing, and I love how, and I thought that you really, Shawan, answered your own question. I really did. Like, you asking us, but I think you answered your own question because to be honest, we always have to go to the beginning. Adam and Eve was the first relationship that God ever put together. And he put it together because he had to show Adam that a woman is not to compete with him, it's to complete him. And I think oftentimes what men don't understand, and I say this all the time, I'm like, Shamika, we can never really figure them out. But the one thing I find out with men is there are some things in life that they would never be able to do or complete without us. Mm-hmm. And, God intended to do it that way. So, yes, the woman, I believe, is a prize. A man is a prize. A woman can't have a seed by herself. She needs a man to do that. So I think it's important that we understand, like, we got to get rid of that. Who's more valuable, who's more important, because we all matter to one another. And the one thing that I will say this, though, I think it's a little joke that I say, and men usually they frown on it and they don't like it. But I felt like it's something God gave me, that women, we're strong. We're built from a rib. So that means we can bend, we can break, you can shape us, you can mold us. We're like that. Men is more like, they're created from dust. So, they can't handle a lot that we can. It's a difference in individuals, but they complement each other so well. And I think when women understand that, when it comes to men, like the young lady said, sometimes you got to man down. You don't got to be manly old. Sometimes you just got to man down, and you got to show that man that you complete him. You're not there to compete with him. It's not competition. You're not there to compete. You're there to compliment. When people see a woman, they know what kind of relationship that she has with her man. If she's disgruntled, you know what it's about. The same with him. Men love to use women as they say, what, arm candy. You know what I mean? So it's just a question where I think it's just knowing your role, that women need to understand that we're called to balance, the weight on the man's shoulder,
Mhm.
not there to try to take over. Even if you're the breadwinner, you still gotta submit to that man. Like I said, you just gotta know your role, and you gotta be confident in yourself that you have substance. You got building power and you got keeping power.
Mm,
So no matter what, you gotta know who you really are in a relationship, and you gotta just play that position to the best that you can.
that is so true. That is so true. Rosie, did you have something that you wanted to add?
I just want to piggyback and say that I agree with everything you ladies said. Men and women are both important. I just want to just clarify and state the reason why I made that statement, and we can save this for next week or the next time we do this. But it came down to just knowing certain types of men and polygamy. And
Mhm.
I believe that Black women provide so much value and importance. I've seen many situations where a Black woman, or any woman, but I'm speaking in reference to Black women, you give your all, or you start off in a somewhat called a monogamous relationship, and then because there are so many women that are single and they chase a man that's high value, the man then switches up on the woman and starts talking about polygamy. So that's where that came
Mm,
from. And so please, I don't want to be misunderstood. Men are very, very important, but I think sometimes our kings, they forget the power of our queens and the empires that we can build together. But Black women are good enough where you do not have to share yourself with another man. But that's my opinion. And everybody has different beliefs. And I say that because my grandfather had 3 wives. So I'm very familiar with that word. But that's where I'm coming from.
No, I think that's good, and I'm glad she clarified that, because at the end of the day, the ratio is very high. There is, it really is, and it's biblical also, that there will be 7 women to one man. You know what I mean? So sometimes women feel like they got to fight harder to prove that they're worth it, from the next person. But I'm just a firm believer that, you just got to just know who you are. And I agree with you 110%. Like, you don't want to just tolerate anything because you feel there's nothing out there really. You know what I mean? So, and I
There
like
are unhappy women.
yes, and I like the fact that that sometimes you just got to know who you are and just cut it off and cut it short. And I don't know her name. I can't see her name. What's your name?
Tosh or
The one next
Rosie?
to Tosh.
Tosh is in the middle. At
Right,
the
the one next to Tosh.
that's Rosalind.
Oh, that's
Oh,
Rosie.
Rosalind, I'm sorry, Rosalind
Hi,
Amaka.
Rosalind. I'm sorry. Yes, like and I think that you should be unapologetic. You don't have to apologize. You said it the way you said it. It was fine. We accepted it and we got it. And that's how we got to be. We can't keep making an excuse and trying to, put lipstick on a pig. You just got to be how you are, and just know at the end of the day, that's for any woman that's in a polygamous relationship. Like, no, you're worth more than that. And sometimes you just have to wait. And in that waiting period and in that transition, overall, God is trying to show you who you really are, because sometimes we tolerate a lot of stuff from men in negative relationships. It's because you really don't know who you are.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna be honest with you, this is a perfect time to pitch this, but I got a book that deals with all of this, and we'll discuss that in another time. And it's for women empowerment, and it's called The Wealth of a Woman. It just goes to show you how wealthy you are, so that you can see yourself in God's mirror. And when you see that, not to spiritualize everything, but when you see yourself in a different light and you see yourself in his mirror, you never have to devalue whether he's the prize or you're the prize.
Mhm.
You're just it. You're just the one for anyone.
I love it. I love it. I love it. Thank you, ladies, so much for this second episode of the Sister Circle. And look, let me tell you, there were so many good points that was brought up tonight, and I'm definitely gonna have to have a separate show on some stuff because I'm telling you, Rosalind, you hit on some things that I definitely need to expound on. The polygamy is one of them. Okay,
I see a lot.
that is definitely one I have to touch on because that has become so mainstream now. Believe it or not,
It's
and
such a trend.
it is, and I'm
It's a
like,
trend.
don't get me wrong. I understand that traditionally that is done in other cultures, and it's you know I mean it's regular. It's supposed to happen. That is what that tradition adheres to. But I'm like, yo, this is America. Like, we ain't doing that here. Like, I'm not sharing anybody. You know what I'm saying? Like, so I definitely want to talk on that again. So with thank you for bringing that up. Seriously, thank you for bringing that up. But again, this has been a wonderful show with dynamic women. As always, you know, I have great taste in picking people. So thank y'all for being here once again. And we're going to end this, and you all have a great night.
Thank you. Bye.
All right,
Thank
so
you so much for the opportunities. Love meeting you ladies. It was my honor. Thank you so much.
always,
Mhm.
always. Have a good night, y'all.
You too. Bye.
Find us on our social media page.
Tune in for our next video. Make sure to like and subscribe. And don't forget to turn on post notifications so you won't miss out on any future episodes.